All right, shout out to everyone. And some of you already know what video I was about to play earlier, but let's get into this. So this young lady right here, let me find her pictures for you. Oh, this was another story. Oh my God, she's beautiful, by the way. Apparently she used to be an actress in Nigeria years ago. My wife was trying to remind me some stuff, but I couldn't. I don't really remember her. But this young lady right here, let me blow it up. Her name is Georgina Onuoha. She was a Nollywood actress, this young lady right here. Well, she's about 40 now. This lady right here, that's her children, I guess. That's her. She's now divorced. But how is she on this topic right now today? Well, she's when I saw those videos, she had an opinion on Yul Edochie too. She didn't agree with how he handled things. But that's her right there, okay? She's beautiful, right? Let me see. Did I? Yeah, that's her right there. All right, so yeah, Georgina, I don't really remember her, but some people may remember her. But there's a video I'm going to play. Let me see here. Even though I've been married for over 11 years, I still learn something new every day on this channel. So thank you, Brother Allah, for this platform. You're a true gem. God bless you. Thank you so much, Nurse Rosie. I appreciate you. Hey, Sunshine. Welcome, Sunshine. All right. So we're talking about Georgina Jesus, let me get that name. Onuoha. She's an Igbo lady, but she's a Lagos chick. She speaks better Yoruba than myself. I heard her speak some Yoruba. I'm like, that Yoruba is smoother than mine. But what are we talking about today? Let me play the first video for you, and then we'll take it from there.
I did not sign up to be a personal assistant taking pagers calls at night. So those nights he will go and stay in a different room meant for him to stay so that I can have my peace and still nurture the kids. Like I said in one of my comments, there are different reasons why people tend to share different rooms. It's
all right. So what we're talking about is a husband and wife sharing different rooms. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. I want to know your opinion. Do you think this should be normalized? All right. Let me see here. Oh, okay, there you go. Do you think this should be normalized? Do you think this is normal at all? First of all, do you think this is even normal? Right? Do you think it's normal for some people, quote unquote, some people? Right? Do you think it's normal? Turn on the space eater a little bit. Do you think it's normal for husband and wife, some husband and wife, we like to throw the word some around sometimes to justify a point, right? For husband and wife to be sleeping in different rooms. Okay, now I'll tell you a little story. When I was growing up, right? When I was growing up, my mother always had her own room. She always did. She just never slept in it, right? I've never seen her sleep in that room. Okay. Every single flat apartment house that we moved into when I was growing up, there's a room that was named after my mother. She just never slept in the room. Now, the way I was raised, what we consider normal is also a function of how we were raised. The way I was raised, if somebody said my mom had a room, I would say, hey, yes, that's normal. That's cap, because that may not be normal for other people, right? That's why I keep calling the cap on everybody here, right? All of us. What you consider truth is basically what you know, and that's onto your pie. That's always going to be based on what you know. You never know everything in life, okay? In fact, a lot of time what the experience you've had is based on your circle. There's only so much experience you have. The closest you can get to anything is stats, data, and statistics and facts and all this nonsense. And the limitations of those. That's also biased in so many ways based on whoever did the studies. Okay, so that's a battle that we will continue to fight. I don't think it's really a battle unless you make it a battle for yourself. For me personally, we don't have to know everything about all 8 billion people in the world. It's unnecessary, it's stupid. Anyway, but for me, if you ask me what's normal, I'm like, it's not normal. It's normal for her to have a room. What you normally see in those rooms, you see a showcase, a glass showcase, right, where she puts china plates, china glass cups, all those fancy stuff that she pulls out on Christmas Day to serve the guests, right? And she might have a little extra walk-in closet because, you know, women have all these different things, right, and stuff like that, right? So, but again, I call the cop on her because from the first few sentences she made, I'm like, this is not normal. Because she's literally saying sleeping in another room. So the first video you saw is essentially her reason for why it's not really a big deal. Well, here's the thing. There's one thing for it to not be a big deal for some people. It's another thing to be normalizing that for people, to make it a big deal. D-Love says, I don't think it's normal, but if you like it, I love it. Say less, D-Love.
You're right.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. I agree, right? But let's talk about it a little bit deeper, right? So that was this video. Let me play the video again so you can get some context a little bit.
Tend to share different room. I did not sign up to be a personal assistant taking pagers calls at night. So those nights he will go and stay in a different room meant for him to stay so that I can have my peace and still nurture the kids. You know, like I said in one of my comments, there are different reasons why people tend to share different rooms.
All right, so she said that like it's a lot of people. It's not normal for most people when they're in love. Okay, let's slow down a little bit. Okay, it is not normal for most people when they're in love. You will literally have to be peeling them off of each other. They're not sleeping separate. Okay, one person may fall asleep in the living room while the other person goes to bed because they want to go to bed early, right? If that repeats itself a few more times, it's going to start to draw a wedge between them. People can normalize that, yes, over time. It's true. But it's not appropriate to talk about this without talking about the in-love experience. When people are in love, which is ideally what people want to be, the space they want to be from a feelings, emotional standpoint, right? At least one person can't wait to be in the same bed with their partner. That's even when they work separate hours. Sometimes somebody works night shift. That's true, right? And they're at home when the other person is at work and all this kind of stuff, right? So I'm reading between the lines of what people are saying when it comes down to this. I'm not just reading what you're saying. I'm sorry. I may not argue with you, but I'm always reading between the lines. Okay? So let me go on to the next clip.
It always sounds... Here's what I believe here. It always sounds...
Shout out to Daddy Freeze. Shout out to Daddy Freeze for giving us all this materials to talk about, you know. But yes, we need to talk about this because the truth is that there are many people who go through situations where they don't feel like being in the same room with their spouse much longer. And they are asking a very valid question. A very valid question. Do we have to be in the same room? I need to go sleep in the other room. A lot of men don't know how to handle that. Like, we're married. Why do you need to go sleep in the other room? Where she's trying to say something. It's not the room that's the issue. Just like for Georgina, the room is not the issue. Okay, I know. We will get there. But first thing first, the room is not the issue. Okay? It's usually something else. Like she was saying, maybe there's these other reasons. But let's see how valid these other reasons are, right? Let's take a look. Let's take a closer look. But before I get into that, let me see what Nurse Rosie said. Brother, have you seen the movie called One Room? I need to see it, obviously, right? I believe Rita Dominic was the lead character in that movie. That movie throws a lot of light about the importance of staying in the same room. I will look for it. I'll look for it. Okay. Let's keep going. I think it's important personally, but I think when somebody is pushing against it, there are deeper reasons. If you assess it from the symptom, you will destroy the situation more. Okay? Like, you know, you will just basically be messing with a wound that will never heal because, you know, you're basically attempting to treat a symptom. It's always a bad idea. But let's keep going.
Oh yes, convenience. It makes sense. Let's be convenient.
Convenience.
Are you still with the physician?
No, I've been divorced for 12 years now, Daddy Freeze.
Oh, wait. That's a very important information. We needed to know that. All right. So, Daddy Freeze is in love with his, what do you call it right now? Tomato juice right now. To taste bud, right? So, he's trying to comprehend what the hell is going on. Sleep in different room. Like, if you said that about my ex, you know that he's always talking about his ex. When he finds good example from the ex, he talks about it. He has no shame about that, right? So if you talk about sex, he'll probably be the first to tell you, like, of course I didn't want to sleep in that same bedroom with that woman, right? If you follow him, you know this already, right? But with taste buds in separate room, I beg, explain to me, what do you mean? And you can see it's like, he's trying to figure out where she's coming from. Now, a beautiful lady that she is, she's trying to explain it, right? But she's going to drop a bomb on us really quickly and say, oh, wait, I've been divorced for 12 years now. Like, wait, what? Divorced for what? Oh, tell us more about that. Let's keep going.
Sure.
No, I've been divorced for 12 years now, Daddy Freeze.
Big
I've
body.
been divorced. Oh yeah, I've been divorced for 12 years. I mean, I don't know if you're married to a doctor or a nurse, especially here, even back home in Nigeria, when they are on call, it is crazy.
Stop the cap.
Every now and then, which means they have emergency in the emergency room, they need to go. So as you
All right, so doctors and nurses in the house, maybe you tell me better. Is this like this today, right? Is this how it works? Doctors and nurses, you get on calls, pages are ringing off the hook. So your solution is like, maybe, just maybe, we should sleep in a different room so that we don't bother the other person's sleep. No be juju be this. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea, all right? I am not believing what she's saying a bit. If you're a nurse, you're a doctor, is this a viable solution for not, is this a problem in the first place? The fact that the pages could ring off, you're on call, and under normal circumstances, correct me if I'm wrong, my wife and I were not doctors or nurses. Correct me if I'm wrong, would you, if you're stepping out of the house, no matter how many times that happens in any given month, wouldn't you want to say, hey babe, I'm out to work, gotta go to work. Okay babe, talk later. Wouldn't that be much more like healthy? Correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe it's just too much that, you know, she loves her sleep so much. Like, no, just stay in the separate room, in the guest room, which is usually the case for most people. It's not like there's extra 5th, 7th, 8th bedroom, or stay in the living room, worst case scenario, right? Is this how that works? So correct me if I'm wrong. Let's keep going.
It would. Are you still with the physician?
No, I've been divorced for 12 years now, Daddy Freeze.
Big
I've
body.
been divorced. Oh yeah, I've been divorced for 12 years. I mean, I don't know if you're married to a doctor or a nurse, especially here, even back home in Nigeria, when they are on call, it is crazy. The pagers are going off every now and then, which means they have emergency in the emergency room, they need to go.
So the gentleman is about to go get some money, but your own sleep is paramount. Let's go to the next one.
That can, in reality, there are so many factors that can, hinder that. And not because of it.
So at least you use the word hinder. that means she's acknowledging that this is something very, very important, to sleep in the same bedroom with your wife. Okay, I said, like, no extra factors, no, because she's telling us some extra factors. I think the factor is
Stop the cap.
but let's just take it as we go, right? So, but she just threw in the word reality. Okay, the reality is that when you're in love with your partner, I agree, if you're not in love, you will find any reasons, any excuses to not sleep in the same bed with that man or that woman. Men will still find a way, because they still want some. They need to knock some off every now and then. They may still want to be in the same bed with you, but no matter how mad he is with you, like you need to let some energy off sometimes, right? As in Kerewa, right? But women, it's different. If they're not feeling good with you, they don't feel like being in the same bed with you, aka they're not in love with you in that moment in time. In love experience is temporary in nature, on and off and on and off, until you've done it enough time, you guys done the work necessary, it becomes second nature. Yes, there is a point you get to where it can become second nature. All right, so let's keep going.
Each other, or because they are not into each other. There's a time we use separate but equal.
All right, so let me see here. Nurses are not on call. Sure, I know that. Yeah, I knew that too. But thanks for pointing that out, Patrick. Doctor being on call is part of the job. So it's part of the normal world of a doctor, especially who is maybe a junior to mid level, right? He's not calling his shots yet, so he's going to be on call, right? So this is something you knew before you married that person. This is something that was part of the attraction to that person. You probably slept over some weekends, right? And you were okay during that period of time. But somehow when you get into marriage, it's like, oh no, we should sleep in separate rooms because your pages are going off. Oh no, he ascended to that level. Like, tell me, help me make sense out of this. I'm just looking for a good valid reason outside of you're no longer in love with that person why you will need to sleep in a different room. That's all I'm looking for. Okay? Not being in love is not abnormal. It happens. It's going to happen to all marriages, in and out of love, in and out of love. If you do the work, eventually you'll be in love. Meaning it's second nature to you. It's not really like your friends now, right? But on the flip side of things, right? Maybe she knows something. I got a few more video clips, right? Nurse Rosie says, let me just put this out there. My husband and I had an argument over election years ago over Trump and Biden. We slept in separate rooms only for me to return to our room at midnight. Continued. See, I just said one thing. Let me just make it clear too. Let me make my own clear too, Nurse Rosie, right? If we're talking about you're not in love with him at any point in time, a temporary feeling, in fact, okay, on and off. If you do the work, right, a minority will end up in love for a long time. They're always in love. They've done the work, right? Now, so there's nothing abnormal about not being in love at any moment with your husband or wife. If you're in that space, I understand you don't want to be in the same room with them. What we're saying as we normalize it, or just because of a job, or because of this thing, or that, we sleep in separate room on a regular. By the way, my agenda here is to normalize it for you that it is not normal, okay? You should be sleeping in the same room with your... She's going to make some other points. I know some other examples that I will agree with her. But let's see. We slept in separate rooms only for me to return. And then she said, continued, I found my husband choking. So imagine what would... Okay. In love. Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for mentioning this. Okay, Nurse Rosie. So imagine what would have happened if I didn't return back to the room at midnight. Separate room is not okay in my books. Let's stay mad at each other in one room. Because that's literally impossible. Okay, especially if you do the work. To stay mad at each other. You know, if you're a normal person, if there's no serious damages that have happened, you can always find a space where you soften your heart. And some people are stubborn, Sha. Let me just let you know. But again, remember, I already said that you're not in love. If you're not in love, listen, you can even leave the house. I'm not even going to judge you if you say it is normal to leave the house, right? But we're saying you're in love, but because we're so in love and we're very particular and assertive and communicative, we communicated that we should just sit in separate room. On that one right there, I'm calling cap.
Stop the cap.
All right, let's keep going. Emma Binusimi Hejo. Sunshine said, I've heard sleeping in different rooms makes the other person miss you. Yeah, if it's temporary, right? Why are you looking for them to miss you in the first place? What happened in the first place? Why are you looking for them to miss you? People that are in love are not looking for each other to miss each other. Okay, there's a place you get to where you've created some damages. Maybe your marriage went through some situation, your relationship, and the person kind of needs to miss you for them to start appreciating you again. That happens. There's a part of the whole equation with that, right? But it's because something happened in the first place. Somebody's not in love, right? So sometimes you have to let, distance make the heart fonder. You have to let people breathe, right? Granted on that one. I'm of the notion that we can sleep on the opposite ends of the bed, arguing and touching him to see if we're still good. See, that's normal behavior. Now we're talking, right? Okay. Stella says, operating room, shout out to you, Stella. Operating room nurses are on call in the US. Okay, that's true. So there are all these different type of nurses. I do not know about any other departments. It could be. Thank you for that. And shout out to Darrell. Thank you so much, Darrell. Please hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let's keep playing that video.
Hinder that. And not because they love each other or because they are not into each other.
No, let's stop the cap. It's because of that, literally. Let's play it again.
Hinder that. And not because they love each other.
Stop the cap.
There's a time we use separate but
all right, so let's move on to the next one. She said they could love each other. I agree with they could love each other. Loving each other and being in love with each other are two different things on this platform. Okay, you can love a person you're no longer in love with anymore for many reasons. Children, you wouldn't want anything harmful to happen to them, but from a romantic standpoint, it's just no longer there. It happens. Okay, and you can find in the same breath, like of course I love him. And sometimes they will, of course, cap.
Stop
right?
the cap.
And then they'll say, I still got love for him. Like, I don't know the difference. But bottom line is you're not in love with this person. That's the one thing we can separate from the rest of it, right? So we know that people go through that, right? Let me play this next one.
He was big. He would use his big hand on me, like on a big side. That makes it difficult the most. Because
you know what this one is saying? This auntie right here. Auntie said, Eve is on the big side.
I still wonder, like, I had this friend. I had this boyfriend. He was big. He would use his big hand.
So this person is not an husband. It's a friend and a boyfriend at the same time. But let's keep going. Let's go.
Because the person would wonder, like, I had this friend. I had this boyfriend. He was big. He would use his big hand on me, like, on his arm, in the name of cuddling. Oh, goodness. That's an almost...
I'm not even looking.
So because your husband, let's just pretend like she has a husband, not a friend or a boyfriend, and he has a big arm, right? My wife tells me all the time, like, damn, like, why you too big? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, but the truth is that for typical situation, the wife may be smaller, not typical, but for a lot of situations, right? Maybe smaller, and you're hugging, that's what the same thing they love about you. Something like, leave me alone. If you're throwing back and forth, right? And she's saying this is a reason to have separate rooms. Who is buying into that? Because that's the conversation we're having. Okay, she doesn't believe in herself, because that laugh I don't believe. Let's continue.
That freeze. I work.
She does. Georgina does not believe either. She continues the conversation. Continue.
Adolescent psychiatrist. There are people.
Okay, so she works in adolescent psychiatric, blah blah blah. Okay, so now we're going to extreme. People have mental health conditions, and this is why they could sleep in different rooms. Okay, just realize you're talking about an extreme situation, a certain condition, right? Medical condition. She's about to say mental condition. That's not what we're talking about. I don't think that's where Daddy Freeze was coming from at all, right? In that case, if somebody say, hey, you might want to, I don't know how those things go down. Maybe they say, hey, it might be healthy for you to be in separate rooms for now. Again, a temporary situation, hopefully, right? Now, I don't know how those things work. I can understand that. But why do we always seems to go to the extreme of situations when we're having normal conversation? Or why do we try to use that to sell to normal people? A person right now could be going through, this is why it's very important that I cover this topic. They could be going through a situation where they're not in love. They're just not in love with their partner right now. And they're contemplating separating rooms as opposed to a much more of a healthier place to be, which is, I think Nurse Rosie said earlier. Who said that just now? Yeah, being on the opposite end. Sunshine said that it's not, you have to be in a certain place emotionally to be able to do that too. Let's just be aware of that. Not everyone is able to do that, right? But if you're able to be in that healthy place, you can say, oh, yes, we're arguing, but we're going to argue from opposite sides of the bed, right? Also, your husband, by the way, they might be like, no, I want to be out of the room tonight. You have to be okay with that. Okay, unless it's become a permanent situation, right? In that case, you have to seek help, proper help, counseling, wise counsel, right? Because it's not good to stay in that funk for too long, okay? Because again, a lie becomes truth eventually if you keep going, right? So, I just, the cap is too much. Let me play the next video. How about that? You know, I was making a point, but I think this next video will help us.
Like being around. If my wife is downstairs for too long, I'll begin to call and say, come, are you not going to come upstairs?
And yeah, I like being around.
Okay, for instance, I like being around. If my wife is downstairs for too long, I'll begin to call and say, come, are you not going to come upstairs?
And yeah, I like being around you too.
No, around is the same thing as they're trying to separate being around my husband from being in the bedroom with them. It's not different for most situations, okay? It's not different. If you like to be around your husband, that means from time to time, especially one of the most important moments of the day, when you sleep in the same bed overnight so you can wake up in the morning and join hands together and say a prayer. Especially that moment. And Daddy Freeze is more of the normal person here who says, hey, after a while, like, you know, they come upstairs. My wife is the one that tends to do that here. Because sometimes I stay late downstairs and do things, watch TV, and once in a while she's like, you coming up or not? But anyway,
why are you not going to come upstairs?
And yeah, I like being around you too.
I'm not going to marry you. You cannot be with a man for more than 3 hours.
3 hours, right? So imagine she said, you're not coming upstairs, and I say, and I'm looking for all the different excuses in the world not to come upstairs. There is problem. Let's not deceive ourselves. There is problem. It may not be that obvious. You may be normalizing the problem. You may say, hey, after all, I did that earlier on in our marriage. I would say things like, you know, husband and wife go through that. No, if you do that long enough, maybe we had a little argument. We say husband and wife go through that. If you do that long enough, you're going to destroy that marriage. Because as much as you may think it's normal, the other person may be building resentment around it. And you can't see what you can see, right? So the idea of this whole segment is really, don't normalize BS. Don't do that to yourself, because to you it may be normal, maybe the way you were raised. If you know by any stretch of your imagination that this is not a good thing, don't normalize it, because the other person, you may not have heard, maybe they're trying to protect your feelings. They may be building resentment around that. It's nothing wrong with sleeping in a different room. They really may not just want that. Maybe they are trying to make you feel better. They know that you don't like being pushed against too much, and they kind of left you alone. One day, it's going to be all over, and it might be too late.
Then you have to
be. I mean, I'm
very
It's not. Okay, let me use this illustration for you.
No, what?
Daddy Freeze just tried to equalize it to have a side chick. Okay, bros.
People justify
No. Okay. No, let me use the Hausas. Okay, let me use the Hausas, or those who are into polygamy.
All right. I gotta play this for her.
Stop the cap.
Now, don't bring in polygamy into this, okay? Because I know all about that. This is big cap.
Stop the cap.
When the man has more than 10, 5, 7 wives, how do you think those women cope when he's in other rooms, sleeping with other?
You don't marry, you don't enter polygamy if you are not ready for the nonsense in.
Not even that, Baba Freeze. Not even that. First of all, the ayo, the favorite wife, comes in and out of the bedroom in a polygamy all the time. Not only the favorite wife, special moments during the month, the wife comes in and out of the certain favorite wife, not necessarily the youngest wife either, comes in and out of the room. What do you think is one of the sources of the envy and the jealousy in those types of family? Oh, you forgot they are human beings too. You think polygamy will just fix all of the jealousy and envy human characters, right? No. It's actually worse. It's a war zone. I keep telling them it's a war zone in a lot of ways, especially spiritually, which is hard to put your finger on all those variables, right? It makes it harder because it's spiritual. You can't question spiritual stuff. You can't really accuse people of spiritual attacks. It's not tangible, right? So first of all, it makes sense that if there's multiple wives, obviously nobody is staying permanently in there, but they do go in and out of that guy's room. Not only that, he goes into their room too. And by the way, there are many polygamous family where the first wife, the main flagship wife, stay permanently in the man's room as the person that's permanent. The guy goes into whatever room he wants to go to, and they find some kind of solace in that. Okay, so this is not good. It's a bad argument altogether. Okay, if you're married to if you're polygamous, at least you married one wife first for the most part, right? Everybody is not fella that married 27 wives in one day, right? You married one person after the other. When that person was the only wife married, they usually stayed in the same room. They didn't name the room after her or say that's mommy and daddy's room. Oftentimes, like I said, the way I was raised, my mom always had a room, a separate room. She just never slept in it. Just never. Bad argument. Let's go back to the point I'm trying to make here. Don't normalize it. Your wife, your husband may be in a space where they feel like we should have a separate room. There's something deeper going on. They're not in love with you. If they're in love with you, they wouldn't want you to sleep in a separate room. Okay? But again, if it's medical, physical, mental conditions that a professional told you that's probably what's necessary for now, yeah, I can make some exception for that, right? Because I don't know what those things are, right? But when it's normal, everybody's normal, and you're in love. So what happens is that you now tell this to people, and somebody is not in love, and they're trying to sugarcoat it, and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with being in love, but the issue is that the attraction is falling apart. But they're not going to address that issue because you've told them that it's normal. It is not normal.
Involved in polygamy.
Good. You have just made my point. There are people who marry, but there are reasons why they.
Chinye, yes, you are late. But welcome, Sorieto, my sister.
And for other logically reasons cannot share. Who mentally, psychologically, and for other logically reasons cannot share.
He said they should not marry. Well, they might have been married already, Pastor Freeze. Maybe they were already married, you know. And if they have a professional tell them you have to separate rooms for now, a case in point, right? If people start, right, and they're sneezing all over the place, and somebody put what do you call it, a swab in their nose, and they say, hey, positive, and they say quarantine, right? It's temporary. It's few days, right? I can understand, but that's not what she's trying to argue. I'm speaking for her now. She's trying to argue that it's normal. No, it is not normal. Okay, it is not normal. That's the point.
But that is not the premise of marriage, though.
So what is the premise of marriage? I think I've gotten it all wrong.
Then, okay, like people can be married, not share the same room. They enjoy each other's company, not just.
No, that part is cap.
Stop
okay?
the cap.
People can be married, right? Enjoy each other's company, but have one medical or mental condition or the other, and professionals have told them quarantine from each other for now. Okay. All right. So again, she's actively trying to normalize this. Okay, there are a lot of women that are agreeing to this today. Say, hey, duty and responsibility. You can still love each other and just be there. Like, dude, in love is important. You should acknowledge it's up and down, and there are moments you won't be in love, and you should be willing to walk through that. But being in love with your spouse is important. Human beings, at their very innate core self, need to feel good about the situation they're in. They can tell themselves lies for a little while, but eventually they will find some stupid logic to justify nonsense and then separate. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, one way or the other. Don't build on nonsense. Okay? That's all I'm trying to say. It's very important to be happy in a relationship with your husband and your wife. Granted, it's a temporary feeling, but it's a temporary sequenced feeling that becomes a joyful thing over time. There will be moments that the happiness is not there. It's not your excuse to leave or start to shatter or destroy your relationship further. But it's important to feel happy in the situation you're in. Don't let anyone talk that down for you. Don't allow any lame conversations or back and forth to talk that down for you. Like, maybe it's just me, maybe just, no. If you're not happy, you're not happy. Nothing good is going to come out of it if you don't find out the underlying reasons why you don't feel happy. You should acknowledge, first of all, that yes, happiness is a temporary feeling, but there's a reason. There are deeper reasons why you may not be happy. Besides, you're just being what's the point that they always make? You're just being besides, you have no respect for marriage. No, you're a human being. Okay? You're a human being. There are moments you're not happy. It's not about marriage. As a human being, there are moments you're not happy. Don't let anybody shame you for that. However, you should realize that a lot of people are using that as an excuse to destroy longer term structures like your family, like a home for your children, like things you could literally walk through. If you give yourself some space, back off small, and you can work on it, because remember, it's temporary. Okay, so let's keep going.
Then, okay, like people can be married, not share the same room. They enjoy each other's company, not just in the
They enjoy each other's company, not just in what?
bedroom.
Not just in the bedroom. No, but you be this.
Friendship, gist partner, and there are so many reasons
This partner, just not in the bedroom.
people marry. It's not all about just sharing. I believe in the traditional way of marriage. I stay in the same house.
People, hold on.
You believe it, but you're making a case for nonsense. No. Chinya says, I disagree with staying in different rooms permanently. Yeah, temporarily is needed sometimes, okay? You have to let people breathe sometimes, especially if you know that there's been some recent damages. You guys haven't been on the same page. Sometimes you just need to back off, okay? Case by case, depend on what we're talking about, right? It will cause a couple to grow apart. Yes, that's very true. But you know, getting choked up in the same room can cause them to grow apart too. Resentment is built in that sense until that person snaps. So there's a sweet balance in between. Sometimes you should back off. Sometimes you shouldn't allow that space. If somebody is preaching to you that separate room is okay, that kind of space is terrible. It will destroy your relationship. Because you will tell yourself lies long enough until you destroy the relationship. Because it's still a lie. There's nobody in love that wants to stay in a separate room unless there are professional underlying reasons, advices, stuff like quarantine. I'm just giving the most mildest. Right now it's kind of mild. 2-3 years ago we couldn't say that, right? And why can't you just in the bedroom? Abi a show. Thank you.
Oyinbo people make excuses for.
Daddy Free is gonna blame it on Oyinbo people, but
topic actually relates to me because I sleep separately from my wife most days of the week. It's purely for work reason. I'm a project manager. I'm looking after like 4 countries. We have like 1-year-old daughter that needs to be fed every 3 hours. So there's no way I'm gonna be in the
selfish. Stay with your wife and feed the baby.
Now the feminists are gonna come for this one. They're gonna come for this one. This one said because he has a 1-month-old baby. Is that 1 month or 1 year? Let me see.
I'm gonna be
Sure.
in the.
Selfie.
I'm a project manager. I'm looking after like 4 countries. We have like one.
By the way, when it says it's looking after 4 countries, that means it's on a laptop somewhere, monitoring. Worst case scenario, servers in 4 countries, right? And these are the reasons why.
1-year-old daughter.
1-year-old daughter.
Like 1-year-old daughter that needs to
1 year, you can't sleep in the same bedroom with your 1-year-old daughter. Let's keep going.
be fed every 3 hours. So there's
Has to be fed every 3 hours. My wife would tell you, like, listen, I'm not even the one to speak to this too much because honestly, I slept in the same bedroom when she was feeding a 1-month-old baby. And she woke up multiple times, and oftentimes I don't wake up when they wake up. So maybe I'm a little different, okay? Maybe I'm slightly different, right? Because I would sleep in the middle of that chaos, wherever that is, okay? But maybe some people are light sleepers, but come on, man. I don't know. This is just a bad example to say publicly, right?
no way I'm gonna be
Sure.
in the.
Selfish.
That if he said, don't be selfish or something.
Stay with your wife and feed the baby.
I mean, a lot of these modern day men are staying with their wife. They even do schedule to feed their baby. I'm not all the way believer of that. I believe that it depends. If that's what she needs, then that's what she needs. But you gotta listen beyond that. Sometimes women think they need that. That's not what they need. What they're complaining about is deeper than you being able to be a mother to their children. And a lot of people think they can sugarcoat their actual issue by washing the plates, and then she's still complaining, and you're wondering, like, you're not listening. There's a good chance you're not listening. I'm letting you know right now, just helping her wash plate and wash pata and wash kidney is not enough. That's not emotional. That doesn't necessarily satisfy the emotional needs of a woman. Just so you know, I have a lot of people that think I've done everything she wanted, but it's not working. Like, you're not listening. But conversation another day, you know. Let's see. A 1-year-old baby should be trained to sleep through the night. Yeah, I guess he's talking about not yet, but still, it's a terrible example of a reason to separate rooms from your wife. Terrible example. The baby should go into her own room. Yes, I said it. Okay? What you should be working on is the baby should be going into her own room or his room, right?
Daddy freeze.
When baby was a baby, we still shared room.
Yeah, my show. That's what I would think is normal. Brother Patrick, how are you, sir?
Hey, my brother.
How have you been?
Me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you know, the reason why I can't sleep in different rooms is that we have one duvet. And when it's cold,
You have to be under that duvet too.
yes, both of us will be under the duvet. So I'm not going to be in another room and be going through stress. You know what I'm saying? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'm going to go to the next. I have a couple more videos. Let's see.
How old was Baby Freeze when they came to Lagos?
Less than a year.
Really?
Yes.
No, there's no
Why is
way
he surprised?
Because my daughter wakes every 3 hours.
So?
And
Hey.
no, it's true. It's true. My wife is here. She knows.
Well, granted, my wife is kind of a light sleeper too. You know, some people just need their sleep, but I still think it's a terrible reason to separate rooms from your spouse. I think it's a bad idea. Please feel free to talk anytime, or if you're ready, Patrick. Let's see here. Let me play this next one.
Conditions that really not allow for husband and wife. Like he said, he's a project manager. If he
Project manager really while I'm at deal. Like he said, he's a project manager. And it's also what?
he's working and a baby is waiting.
Leave Sean. Sean is not part of this.
It's off. Sean is completely off.
True.
Shout Michael's great.
Sean is completely off with his. Oh Lord, let me play. I think I got one more or two more. Let's just get through it because I want to have this conversation with. Let's see.
Yes, we share the same room.
Woo! Go girl, 12 years.
Finally.
That's sweet.
Can you just behave?
All right, I have one last one.
Georgina and John, they here 12 years.
So that person been married for 12 years and they still sleep in the same room.
You know what? I will say one thing before I go here. You know, with you, I think you are the what Nigerian pastor called. You are.
Yes, it's not making any point.
Of couples. I'm a traditionalist. I love marriage. Marriage is beautiful. Those who have been...
All right, so pay attention to people that say, I love marriage, marriage is beautiful. Anybody that start what they have to say with, I love marriage, marriage is beautiful, right? Pay attention they're not necessarily wrong. Just pay attention to what they're about to say next. And you see, I give you little hints here and there, right, of things to pay attention to when people generalize or anything like that, right? So let's keep going.
Traditionalists. I love marriage. Marriage is beautiful. Those who have been able to ride it out, God bless them. It's the most beautiful thing.
Okay.
However, there are so many things in marriages that are not just black or white.
That's true.
Professional life, medical life, psychological life, emotional stability. Doesn't mean that because people fall short in one of those aspects, doesn't mean they are not deserving of love or marriage. You know, there's so much to marriage than just copulating or having kids.
Now, let me ask Sean. Sean, do you agree with me that if you have a problem and you cannot stay with people for more than 2 or 3 hours, do you agree with me that you should not?
Please.
Because yes. I mean, I totally agree because.
Please, that's the main issue. Okay, it's either you're not in love with that person at that moment in time, or you have a problem where you feel smothered easily. There are people like that. That's something that you must make sure you let people let them know. I beg, let them know before you go into a marriage with them. Okay, if you know ahead of time, and if you notice that you're feeling this way inside of marriage, that can happen. After you've been married and you didn't realize you had it before, that can happen too. Tell your partner, there's something. I need to talk to you about something. I don't feel like we should be in the same bedroom, but I've listened to all that before, and that's not normal. And there must be some underlying reasons why I'm feeling that way, but I think we should talk to a counselor. I feel smothered. It's gonna hurt, because nobody wants to hear that. That's rejection, right? It's gonna hurt. But if you keep staying in a situation you don't want to stay in, and you're building resentment over and over, the day you're going to pull that plug, you won't be able to control it. The only thing, it will come off as a survival tactic. You will feel like you're dying inside, and you would pull the plug before you think about it. Don't wait until then. Have a conversation. If your partner is, maybe they're traditionalists like auntie, and they don't think they need to talk to a therapist or a counselor or a coach, then you need to engage individual counseling yourself. Okay?